2 years after divorce, faithless ex-wife wants to reconnect. It had been more than 3 years since I had spoken to my ex-wife. She contacted me last week and requested to chat with me. We had a 1-hour phone chat, and that talk effectively ended this terrible, horrible relationship. This is my tale. I discovered this topic a few weeks ago, and have been reading it religiously ever since. Reading the outpourings of so many shattered hearts has made me sad. I'm sad to admit that it has also provided some solace in knowing that I am not alone in my circumstance. I haven't commented previously because I don't know what consolation or counsel I can provide after my own marriage collapsed so terribly. But after talking with my ex last week, I realized there are so many parallels in all of our tales. A succession of checkboxes, practically all of which are marked as checked. That is what motivated me to write this. We met in Tennessee. I was 22 and she was 27 at the time. She was in her last year of nursing school, and I was finishing off my military duty. For additional money, we were both working as delivery drivers at a local pizza parlor. We hit it off and became friends, which turned into much more after a great party one night. She did, in fact, pursue me. But I was drawn to her and more than willing to reciprocate. When my military service was over, I took her out to a lovely supper and proposed to her. I had fallen madly in love with her at that point. Our first year as a married couple was fantastic. I got along well with her family, and she was well liked by mine. Almost everything we did together. Then, in the second year, things began to alter. I was working full-time and going to school at night, working on a degree in civil engineering. I attempted to make our time together unique and romantic. Nothing, however, altered the reality that there was a lot less of it. I could sense her withdrawing and losing interest in me. As a result, I dropped out of school, made the decision that my marriage was more essential, and I persuaded myself that I could always return later. Things didn't get any better. I had discovered something about her. She is like a child who rapidly becomes tired of her toys. She becomes tired of it and goes on to a new toy. I attempted to keep her interested and things intriguing. Gifts, trips, and many forms of romantic bonding, it was like trying to save a drowning ship. She didn't give much in the way of assistance or encouragement. When you're trying to save a relationship on your own, it's exhausting. After then, the cheating started. This is something you're all aware of. She ticked the boxes. She is very protective of her phone and laptop. Absences from home are becoming more common, a total abstinence from intimacy. Her affection was vanished, and even my embraces and kisses were met with coldness. This has been mentioned several times in previous entries on this site. Cheaters, it's as if they don't want to cheat on their AP with their spouse. I knew what was going on, and I was determined to capture her. We were in a fault condition, but she did a good job of covering her traces. I couldn't back it up. I believed she sensed I was leaving the marriage. All of my efforts to initiate intimacy, or simply converse to her, came to a halt. She then emotionally admitted to having an inappropriate connection with a coworker. She said that it was never physical. She made several promises and apologies. Before coming here, I had never heard the phrase trickle truth, but I feel I was given a steaming bowl of it. With a side of blame shifting. She wanted to do something with us. She wanted therapy for us. I trusted her. Or, at the very least, I decided to trust her. My emotions and mind were not on the same page. We spent a couple weeks in MC. That made her feel uneasy, since the counselor asked some probing questions regarding the EA. I believe she, like me, thought there was more to it. She gave up after 4 sessions. However, we seemed to be doing better. It was almost as if I had resurrected my ex-wife. I was overjoyed and resolved to put all of my unsubstantiated fears to rest. This lasted around 6 months until the cycle started again. She checked all the boxes once again, like she had previously. I challenged her twice about it. She dismissed it as stress on her part or immaturity on my behalf, a favorite thing for her to throw in my face throughout the relationship due to our age difference. Our intimacy ceased as she lost interest in it and in me. Then something occurred. When I arrived home, she was already there. She was sobbing as she sat on our bed. I sat with her and pleaded with her, even begged her to speak to me. She informed me that she was expecting a child. I was ecstatic for a little minute. Then my brain started working. I then realized how long it had been since we had had intimate moments. I could tell by the look on her face. I inquired as to how far she was along. It takes 8 weeks. We hadn't had an encounter in almost 4 months. I stood up and exited the room. She chased after me. Looking back and comparing the subsequent chat to the tales of people's experiences on this particular subforum, I am astounded at how WS all say the same things. It was just that one time. It had no significance. I've always loved you. That final one hurts the most out of all the falsehoods, they say. I informed her that I was leaving the home and would return in an hour. Then I'd pay attention to what she had to say. I was shaking, enraged, and in all honesty, if I had remained, it would not have ended well for either of us. I drove to an empty parking lot and sobbed uncontrollably. I believe I mean it literally, since something inside me shattered during that hour. My heart stopped beating. It solidified into ice. It has remained so for this day. When I returned home, I felt cold and heartless. I didn't have to be a gray stone. In reality, I had become one. She maintained that we could get through this. She could see how thrilled I was when she told me initially, before I comprehended. She made a remark about how we wanted to have a family. She yelled at me about the baby's purity and how he or she would need a father. This went on for over 20 minutes as I sat in utter and emotionless silence staring at her. Finally, she glanced at me and asked if I could say something. I told her she is requesting reconciliation, but practically everything she says to me is a lie. I told her that if she wants me to even consider it, she has to start by telling me the truth. The version of the tale I was informed after that was that it had always been the same AP, even compared to the previous year. It was always and only about the physical. She never had feelings for him. She adored me. He is not interested in anything other than a connection with her. He is putting pressure on her to end the pregnancy. She is adamantly opposed. She wanted a family, and she desired it with me. I informed her that our marriage was finished. It's been over for a year and a half, yet I'm just now learning about it. I advised her to pack anything she needed for 3 days and to leave the home as soon as possible. I told her I'd see her in 3 days to discuss the next steps. She was adamant about staying. She continued attempting to communicate with me. Normally, her cries would have shattered my resolve, but I didn't feel anything when I gazed at her that night. The loving part of me had perished. I entered the guest bedroom and shut the door. I talked with several attorneys the following day and hired one of them. The child's paternity was more than enough evidence for an at-fault divorce. I didn't want to wait so long, so we spoke about uncontested and mediation. She genuinely attempted to initiate with me when I came home. I was both surprised and horrified. That would never happen again, I promised her. We came to an agreement on a divorce plan. Our home was our most valuable possession. Her college loan accounted for the bulk of our debt. I relinquished my ownership stake in the house so that she might sell it. I wanted her to have the money since she was going to keep the baby. I wanted nothing more than to be free. In the end, I'd only retained my Jeep and a military sea bag full of clothing, as well as a few tools, pistols, and military keepsakes. The majority of the items were mine prior to our marriage. To me, everything in that home, everything she had touched, was polluted. I wanted nothing more than to put this marriage behind me. After 13 months, the divorce was completed. During the mediation, I saw her twice. We didn't say much. She was very pregnant at the time. I expected it to be difficult to see, but I felt nothing for her. There is no love, no hatred, nothing. She was a complete stranger to me. I relocated to Florida and accepted a position as an unpaid but overworked federal worker. I currently live a very basic life. On the Gulf Coast, I purchased and restored a little home. I got a boat and spend practically every weekend fishing. I have few friends and have dated just a few times. I'm having trust concerns right now. I'm not very fond of other people's company. I'm skeptical of women's attentions, particularly those I'm attracted to. I'm now 27 years old. I'm in good physical shape, and some females find me appealing. But I don't believe I'm capable of having an intimate connection with someone and trusting them on that level. Not for a long time, at least. In practically every sense, I am the polar opposite of the guy I used to be. Stormy, a cheerful black Labrador retriever, has my whole attention right now. She accompanies me practically everywhere. I'm not overjoyed. I still get emotional when anything reminds me of my ex and all that transpired. I still have a profound and overwhelming feeling of loss at times. I know I haven't lost anything since I didn't have anything to lose, but I can't help but feel this way. The best part about my job is that I generally work alone and outside, and I can often bring my dog to work with me. Even though I haven't found happiness in my divorced life, I have found serenity. That's okay with me. Last week, the history I thought I'd buried 2 years ago resurfaced. She dialed my phone number. I'm not sure how she acquired my contact information. It couldn't have been too difficult. I wasn't exactly concealing myself. We spoke for almost an hour. It started out amicably, with her seeming as though she simply wanted to check how I was doing and catch up. The call's underlying objective, though, was to feel me out about some type of reunion. She had a healthy baby daughter 2 years before. Because of the date, paternity was never in doubt. The AP was not there during his daughter's birth and has had minimal relationship with her. A single mother's life is difficult, and despite receiving assistance from the AP, for which she supposedly had to sue him, she remained lonely and miserable. I told her that I was sad to hear she was upset, but that it was not my concern. She had crushed my heart, I told her, and it was still broken today. I informed her in as many terms as I could that I didn't love her, couldn't love anybody, and didn't want anything to do with her. I told her that she made all of the decisions for all of us, for her, me, and her daughter. She left me with just one option, to walk away from her. I requested that she not contact me again. The last thing that all of our tales on this topic have in common is that a selfish individual made a selfish decision that harmed the lives of 3 others, one of whom had not yet been born. If there is one thing I wish I could help cheaters realize before they make the selfish decision, it is that they are hurting everyone around them, including their AP. However, if they are already selfish enough to cheat, they are unlikely to care.